we can guarantee we're going to get at least 6.5 million views inside of your kind of demographic. It is turning influencer into a more predictable ad buy. And that is what CFOs and CMOs want, to have almost no control over how many people are seeing a post.
Think about how a creator campaign usually goes. You plan for it, you launch it, and then you sort of wait. You sort of hope that it works. Well, that's the way that it used to be for years. My guest today says that part is changing. He is the founder and CEO of Fohr, an influencer marketing intelligence platform. James, welcome to the Big Three. It's great having you.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much.
How's your day been so far? It's been a minute since we last chatted.
My day's been totally excellent. And, we're always running on a little bit less sleep. I have a 6.5 month at home. So
I remember now that you mentioned it. Yes. I saw
Yes.
the cute photo
So-
you uploaded to your LinkedIn a few months
Yes.
ago.
So
Remember that?
that's been an adjustment, balancing
It-
that
it keeps you
with
busy.
running the business. But yeah, it keeps me busy. I didn't have enough going on, so it's all good.
Yeah. Okay. James, I want to jump straight right into it and start very simple, actually. When you say that Fohr can now predict a campaign result, what do you actually mean by that? Let's start unpacking that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Good place to start. It means that we can guarantee a bar that we're going to cross in performance, right? So that
Okay.
we say we can guarantee we're going to get at least 6.5 million views inside of your kind of demographic and where you want to, who you're trying to reach, who your customer base might be. This is exactly how many views we're going to do at a minimum. We
Okay.
can't say if it's going to be 6.7 or 8.5 or 10.3, but we can give that baseline performance guarantee of what is going to happen.
Okay. But when you say that you can predict, what is it that you're actually predicting exactly?
Yeah, we're
Overall
predicting
performance?
the overall cumulative performance of the campaign.
Okay. Another quick, very straightforward question, James. How is that even possible? Walk us through how is that possible?
Yes. Okay. So it is possible, first, because we view the internet, social media especially, as probabilistic, meaning that
Okay.
it is driven and controlled by probabilities. And we have created mathematical models that allow us to navigate those probabilities and ultimately, for the end result for a client, is understanding what is going to happen before it does. Because we have, for every influencer, we have some understanding of what their next post is going to get. And then as we put everybody together and we simulate those campaigns, we're able to see, what happens most frequently when all of those people post.
Okay. James, I want to take a step back because obviously this didn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to take us back. Tell us internally, what did it actually take to get to the point where you can stand behind a campaign, a forecast today? Think about the years, the campaigns, all the work behind the scenes. That's what I think about.
Yeah. Let me start with why we started down this road at all.
Okay.
And part of it was I feel like we kept being surprised or frustrated that we weren't able to predict exactly what was going to happen. A few years ago, there was a big push for brands behind these kind of big swings. They wanted to go viral. They were all kind of chasing virality a little bit. And we would work with these creators that go viral all the time. And we would work on these really fun concepts that we were excited about and the client was excited about. And then they wouldn't work. And that was like really, really humbling and frustrating. And so, we asked ourselves, well, what would it take for us not to be surprised and frustrated? What would it take for us to know before a post went live what was going to happen? And so that was the impetus for walking down this road. Now, I started to look at what are other markets with unbelievable complexity and uncertainty built into them.
Okay.
And I kept going back to the financial markets. There are
Yeah.
so many factors that drive why a stock goes up or down. And there also, in some ways, the stock market looks not dissimilar from the influencer space. You have, think of a brand who's got this money, right? And you know, any brand can work with any influencer,
Yeah.
just like anyone can buy any stock. And so, why do
Okay. I see the
people,
comparison. Yeah.
why do people put their money in a hedge fund or give their money to a financial advisor? Because they want to increase their odds that they get a return on that. And because they don't feel like they have enough understanding of what makes something work or doesn't to put their money behind it. And so I started to look at some of the mathematical models that underpin the financial services market and that hedge funds specifically have used to price in risk and randomness. And that led us to, a set of principles and a set of equations basically that we were then able over time to enrich, enhance, and alter to work with the influencer space. And and so we're applying the rigor and mathematical, you know, might of how people trade in financial services to
Yeah.
the influencer space.
James, so let me ask you a quick follow-up question here. You know how people say that creator marketing is half science, half art. The science part being measurement, performance, data, KPIs, and then the art part say being that the gut that you have that a campaign is gonna do great, or the gut feeling you have when you match with a creator that's amazing and it looks like a great fit. Do you agree that's the way creator marketing used to be, like a part science, part art, and guesswork? Do you agree on that? Is that's the comparison with the financial market still holds
Yeah.
in that regards?
I don't agree with it in the same way that other people say. Here's how I
Okay.
think about it. The question of how do we ensure as many people see this ad, see this message as possible, that is almost totally a math question.
Okay.
So distribution, how many people are going to see a message has very little to do with the message. Now, and we'll come back and explain this because it's a little complex and I have data to support this.
Okay.
So there's that. Let's think about it's you. I am trying to get post or a series of influencer posts in front of you, right? So we are using mathematical models to make sure that we get that post in front of you as many times as possible. Where the art side comes in is how do I make that post persuasive? How do
The
I
creative.
convince you of something? Yeah, how do I? And so where people are getting it really wrong is that they think the creative can do all of that. With the right creative, they'll be able to reach more people. It'll go viral. The algorithm will love it. That's just not how it works, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so you need to, you need to use math to to maximize the number of people that see your ad. And then the art side, which is really important and something we spend a lot of time on, is making sure it's persuasive once it hits somebody. And so that's in that way I agree. But again, I think we disagree structurally about how most people think about it.
Yeah.
And if we're being
James.
honest, I think that brands, if you look at where they're spending their time, they're probably spending it 80% on the art side and 20% on the
Okay.
science. And if I had to, I think in in many ways that should be flipped.
Okay. James, I want to go back to something you said before about you having data to back your comments. I don't remember specifically what was it that you wanted to unpack a bit more for us.
So I found this account that published the same post every day for 170 days.
The
And
same one.
it was this cat video that I'd seen gone viral a few times. And so it
Okay.
posted this same video every day, same caption, everything. And there was a 10,000% difference in how many people saw it each day. So the worst performing day, it got 1,700 views. The best day, it got 20 million views.
Wow, that's a huge
Huge
difference.
difference, right? Now, here is, I think, what was most interesting. The engagement rate for the day that it got 1,700 views or 20 million was exactly the same, 7%. So basically, if the same piece of content can have a difference of 10,000% in its viewership, and if when people saw that piece of content, the same percentage of people liked it, no matter how many people saw it, what that is telling me is we have almost no control over how many people are seeing a post. And that
Exactly.
creative just doesn't have that much of an impact around how many people see a post. But it is basically probabilistic. It is a probability, that there was a certain probability that this post went viral or did well. That happened a certain number of times. Other times it didn't. And so, that study is so interesting because nothing changed except the day
Nothing
and
changed in the creative, especially.
nothing changed in the creative.
Okay.
And so again, you know, that's how we then look at like, okay, distribution is a math equation and like persuasion is a creative and strategic question.
Okay. I want to get even more practical, James. What is possible right now that wasn't possible before? And how does it change the work, the day-to-day work
I mean, for
in
us,
terms of how a campaign gets planned?
yeah. So, I mean, for us being able to predict and know what's going to happen, it's huge, and for our clients, having something that is predictable that you can plan against is also really important. They now, as they plan for their holiday season, let's say, they can say, well, we are going to get at least 20 million views from our organic influencer work that we're doing. And that goes into their whole stack of how they're planning their advertising. What it used to be is like, well, we might get 5 million views. We might get 30 million views. We have no idea. We're hoping for the best. And so, it is turning influencer into a more predictable ad buy. And that is what CFOs and CMOs want.
One.
These are huge organizations with big goals, but also like they need to be able to plan against it. They need to be able to put it into a spreadsheet, and you can do that now. And that is like, been really, really transformative for
Yeah.
our clients.
I
And
think it's
in what they can give in terms of influencer budgets is they're able to spend more.
yeah. I think when you put it like that, it's something that they want and need. I think it's more about the fact that they need it now. Like something that you want is something that you desired and you can or cannot have, and that's okay. But I think that now they actually need it. They need the campaign, being able to predict how a campaign will go. James, talking about how predictability changes a campaign and the way that it gets planned, whose job changes the most?
That's a good question. I think that I actually feel on the day to day, their job hasn't changed a huge amount,
Change
which
that
is,
much.
I think, a good thing. Honestly, part of the power of this system is that it is it is giving our team, who are some of the most experienced, talented people in this space, it is giving them a whole other layer of information that they didn't have before. And so I could say the part of their job that has probably changed the most is how they pick creators and how
Okay.
they negotiate with them. Because one, how we pick them. Let me explain this a little bit. A lot of times, the way clients, even pre predictive, the way our team looked at things is that, let's say you have 10 creators, you have $100,000 to spend with them. You'd say, I have $10,000 each creator, right? You go out, you negotiate, you onboard those people, et cetera. So now we might look at 10 creators at $100,000 and say, well, this creator is going to get us 20% of the total views of this group. So we'd be willing to spend a little bit more to lock this person in.
I see.
These creators are only going to get us 1%. So we're going to spend less, or we are less willing to negotiate with them. And
Okay.
so it's really interesting what this does to the psychology, even in creator selection, when you can see what percentage of the overall performance is this person going to deliver,
You're
and
more confident.
how do we allocate capital against those projections? And so we no longer are looking at a single creator as an island. Because if I pay too much for one creator, it means
That
I
affects the
I don't have as much money to pay for the other ones, you know? And look, we've been talking about pay, and it's a third rail, it's a touchy subject. This people's livelihoods, like we're conscious of that, but it is impossible to talk about performance without talking about pay, right? Because if I again, let's just say we're buying eyeballs. If I have, you know, two creators and I paid one person, $20,000 and I got 100,000 views out of them. And I paid another person $5,000 and got 80,000 views. A lot of people would say creator A did better. They got more views,
Hmm.
but actually they did worse because you paid significantly more for each eyeball than you did with creator B, who we paid half as much money and got 20% less views from. And so our learning from that the next time is, let's not work with creator A again. Let's find more people like creator B.
like creator B. Yeah.
Yep. And so you can't, you can only have a creator that performs well at a certain price. So you can't separate price and performance.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I have more questions about the money side later in the conversation. I just want to ask you something about this is everything. I mean, the conversation we've been having is supposing that the campaign, the forecast is correct. Have you ever had when the forecast when it happens that the forecast is wrong? What does that look like, and how often does it happen, and why does it happen? I guess it's another valid question.
So we're fortunate. We've been wrong, but only in underestimating. So
Okay, a nice
we have,
surprise, you
yeah,
can
we have
say.
over delivered. Yes, exactly. Now we have been wrong more often on an individual creator. So individual creators won't hit their goal, their viewership goal that we set for them.
Okay,
And look, we do with our influencer partners, like we communicate what we have as their viewership goal, which is tied to what they're paid.
Yeah.
and we let them know how they're tracking, and we try and fix problems, as we see them. But we, you know, we are not wrong when we look at the full campaign. And so our ability to predict increases as the number of people we're working with increases, which is generally known as the law of large numbers, is that it gets, it's really difficult to, even if you think of human behavior, it's really difficult to know what one person is going to do at one time,
Yeah.
given a scenario. It is much easier to say, if I have, if today there are, 100 million people driving, some percentage of those people are going to get in a car accident. Some percentage of those people are going to drive drunk, some percent, et cetera. Do I know
The
if,
exact number, impossible.
yeah, do I know if I am going to get in a car accident and my Uber ride home? No, that's really hard to predict. But somebody in an Uber will get in an accident today.
Yeah.
That we
Okay, I
that
see.
we know with certainty.
Yeah. James, I want to talk about prediction as freedom. I think this is the part of the conversation that I find most interesting because maybe it's not like, the obvious one. What happens when you're not guessing anymore, when you're not scared of the outcome anymore? What do brands suddenly, feel brave enough to try from
Yeah.
what you've seen so far?
So far, a big thing is taking bigger bets on influencer, spending more money. And we've seen this actually, interestingly, in the celebrity partnerships that we're doing,
Okay.
which are increasingly so expensive, over six figures, for a single post sometimes. But when we're able to tell a client, look, this is actually worth it. You're gonna get, you're gonna get a return on this from a viewership standpoint if you work with one of these two or three people, but not these other ones. It has allowed clients to work with, partners they've always dreamed of working with, but they were a little gun shy because the numbers were so big. And that's something we're really excited about. Like, it can be hard to get, a quote from a creator that's over $100,000 for a single post
Mm,
and think, how is this possibly worth it? But again, we are able to boil that down to a views per dollar number and say, actually, this is a really efficient way to spend your money, and they're going to do a great job. So that's been one example of bigger swings that clients have taken because they have more confidence in what is going to happen.
okay. What about if we flip it? I mean, what's a brand that maybe is still too scared to try,
Mm,
even if the data sitting right in front of them
mhm.
tells them to, to trust?
Right. Look, there's still a lot of that.
Mm. It will get better
And
though when, right?
yeah, it gets better. It gets better all the time, every year, But, most brands, like people, don't like change, and they
Mm.
generally, as you
Yeah.
think about, "What am I gonna do next year?" You start with, "What did I do this year?" and tweak a percent here or there. And so, just like us as humans, we don't reinvent our lives from the ground up every year, you know? Like, if January 1st, you lost your job and your home and, you know,
Mm.
and your life partner and any pets you had and
That would
if you had
be,
to rebuild your life from scratch, your life would look really different year to year,
yeah.
probably, right? But that's not how it works. We say, I want to work out a little bit more. I want to drink a little bit less. I want to read more, whatever it might be. And we make incremental changes.
Adjustments. Yeah.
Now, again, our hope is that by injecting a level of predictability and performance into a channel that has relied on faith, that we're going to be able to have those changes happen more quickly
More
and have them
frequently.
be larger.
Yeah. James, I want to talk now about something that connects to something we discussed in a previous conversation, which is basically garbage in, garbage out. You made the point in that previous conversation that prediction only works if what you fit it is actually good. Can you unpack what you mean by that?
Yes. So the predictive platform does an amazing job at optimizing and maximizing the amount of people that will see your message. Now, if the content sucks, if the product isn't good, if your storytelling around it isn't good, it's we use the analogy of like, if you think about amplifiers, it's very different if you put a beginner who's barely ever played guitar and you hook them up to,
Mm,
this sound system at Madison Square Garden versus, Keith Richards. And so it's still just as loud. It's still just as
yeah,
amplified, but like it's not as compelling. It's
it's
not as
not as
effective.
good.
It's not as good. So that is where it still really matters what the message is. And in some ways it matters even more, because more people are going to see.
Yeah, yeah. So let me paint you this picture. Actually, let me rephrase the question slightly. What happens to all of this, to predictability, if the industry keeps drifting towards AI influencers and cheap, high volume content?
Well, look,
And how you
the
sorry, and how do you prevent for that from happening?
yeah. So for the industry to swing towards like AI synthetic content, it would have to mean that us as humans, you and me included, are willing to spend hours of our day looking at fake content from fake people, And that might happen, honestly. Like that is possible. I don't think that's going to happen. I think people already feel pretty guilty about how much time they spend on social media. If you were spending
Exactly.
that time and it wasn't even real content, I just people would stop opening the
Yeah,
phone. They would stop doing it. And the beauty of capitalism is that it is completely like self-obsessed and selfish. Meta, like ultimately what they care about is keeping people opening the app and scrolling. I believe humanity and real people is still what brings brings us back to these platforms. And I don't see that changing. And so, you know,
100%.
I don't see AI influencers being a real risk. And if they are, it says much sadder things about humanity. And I
Humanity,
think we have
yes.
much bigger problems than
Yeah,
just if it's impacting influencers' ability to make a living.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to go back to something that we were discussing at the beginning of the conversation, which is, the guesswork, the art, the fun part, the thing that, seems like it never actually really goes away. If you
Hmm.
can predict campaign performance, do you think we're killing the art or are we just moving it somewhere else?
Yeah. No, I think of our prediction model like ropes in rock climbing. You know,
Okay.
it doesn't, if anything, it allows you to do more, you know? It
Mm,
allows you, if you think of like, ropes and safety equipment in climbing, it has allowed people to climb more and more difficult
yeah,
mountains.
I see.
And for us, it's the same thing. If you have confidence that the money you spend is going to result in an outcome you need, then you should be much more free and aggressive and optimistic with what the story you're trying to tell is. And I think that people end up watering themselves down so much out of doubt. And I think that's our big hope from this is that without doubt, you won't water yourself down. You won't hedge against yourself. You won't do the predictable thing that everybody else is doing. You won't copy another brand in your space. You'll just do something totally you because that's like also the best part of social media.
James, I want to ask you something that maybe is not in some of the questions that I have prepared, but you've been around for in the industry for a while now. I'm wondering if there's any part of you that misses the guesswork, or do you think that was a romance that existed just because we didn't have the data, like an excuse for not having the data?
No, I mean, yeah, I think that you can certainly look back fondly on a time when this was really experimental and new and and that was, that was kind of a fun time. The internet was a much smaller place.
Yeah.
But I, I started this business to legitimize the influencer space. We were the first influencer marketing platform in the world. And, predictive is really a continuation of that goal. And, how do we make this the biggest part of advertising? Because I believe, if brands can choose to spend their money with Meta or TikTok or with individual people, I'd rather go to people. I think they're better stories. I think
I
it's more
like that.
effective. I think it's better for the world. And so for us, we want to build infrastructure that allows brands to spend more money with more confidence and get more return than anywhere else on the internet.
Okay. One question that I have pending from when we were discussing the money side of predictability, you said before that different clients package the results up very differently for their leadership. What do you think are the smart ones doing when they take a forecast to their CMO or their board?
Yeah, so everyone has different metrics by which they're kind of judging this. Um, I don't think there's any recipe or anything that is the absolute right one. We obviously believe in views per dollar having a place in your reporting stack because it boils down so cleanly exactly how well each creator performed, no
Okay.
matter their following size or anything. That said, I think the most effective brands in this space are not questioning. They're not looking to a spreadsheet to see if this stuff works.
Okay.
If a spreadsheet is where you go to get confidence,
You're
then
doing something wrong.
I don't think you really believe in it. Yeah. So, look, I wish we didn't in some ways I wish we didn't have to have this model. If you look at the brands that are really winning, do we think over at Skims they're asking, "Do you think influencers are worth it?" No. And so I do think the brands that are truly pulling away and winning are asking themselves where they're looking at the numbers is how can we spend more money on this? What numbers do we need to see to make us even more confident? Not, I need to see numbers to even believe that this is legitimate.
James, a couple more questions. Focus on the future. If prediction becomes normal instead of the exception, what's the smart move brand should make right now before everyone else catches up?
Mm. Well, I mean, I think they should work with us, obviously, and selfishly.
That's the obvious answer.
I mean, nobody else has this. It's completely proprietary. You know, I was speaking with somebody who, you know, they're a banker. So basically they talk to every big player in this space. And they were like, nobody's nobody's operating at this level of sophistication. Like this is truly like very, very different. And, but so I would encourage them to reach out to us and, you know, and see, look, we're very confident about this. It says on our website, if we don't beat the performance of your last campaign, you do not pay our fee.
Okay.
That is how sure we are that we can win, and
Then you can
that
win.
this is
Okay.
the way to do things, is that we're willing to risk our fee to prove it.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick follow up to that one. Is there anything that a brand internally needs to do before, to get themselves ready for prediction? Anything they need to adjust or change?
No, I think it's, you know, some of it is a mindset in how you pick creators and making sure that the people on the brand side that are approving the partners you're working with are understanding the underlying math and probability distributions and not making their choices just on gut feel and and like vibe.
Okay, James, last one. And to close us
hmm
out, if you were sitting in a CMO seat today, knowing everything that you know, what's the first thing that you change about how your team works with creators?
I would start thinking of them as a portfolio, not as individual players. Or put it another way, like start thinking of them as a team and build a great team. Stop focusing on finding great individual players.
Okay, I like that answer. Anything else, James, that you want to add? I think that you answered all my questions. This
I
was a
think we
great
covered it. This
episode.
was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights with us. And to everyone else watching or listening, thank you for spending time with us. We'll be back soon with more from across the creator economy. Talk soon. Bye, James.
Bye.